Next up, we have Quique Fernandez Guerra. He is going to talk about empowering Vue with TypeScript, Inversify, Vue.js, and some other tools. He is a software engineer at Plain Concepts, and he's a founder of an NGO, Help Dev, and he has been using TypeScript since before it was trendy. Come on up.
Protection, a lot of love and affection, whether I'm right or wrong, and down the waterfall, wherever it may take me, I know that life won't break me when I come to call.
Okay, hello to everyone. I'm very happy to be here today with all of you. First of all, I have to say sorry because there are no shown pictures in these slides. Sorry for that, but I want to try to share with you some tips, technologies, and tools that we use in our real projects, okay? Let me first talk about Plain Concepts. Plain Concepts is a company that we create software worldwide. We have offices around the world. I'm obviously not from London, I'm from Barcelona, but we opened 2 new offices, one in Frankfurt and another one in Amsterdam. We are always looking for new talent. You can contact us. And also a little introduction with my really small NGO. It's an NGO in Spain where we help to other NGOs that are in Spain to be in the internet, their websites, logos, and etc. But let's go. For me, software in the past was something like, the client asked to us for a transport, and we say, OK, probably what you need is a car. And first, we create a wheel, we create some parts, but we give not value to the client when we do that. Probably at the end, we have an amazing car, but all this time, the client was like, OK, where is my car? No? Luckily, nowadays, the software is something like more, OK, I'm going to give to you value all the time. First, you have a really small transport that we are going to scale and scale, and we'll give you the same value at the end. The good thing of that is that we can go constantly scaling our projects, and after the car, we can scale it and scale it and scale it, and finally, maybe we have a boat or a spaceship or I don't know what, but we have something that giving value to the client. That's really important and told us that we have to be ready to scale our projects. Don't worry if are small projects or big projects, they have to scale. This process showed me that there are at least 2 more types of websites that depend on how are scaling. The first one could be the wide websites that scale horizontally, like could have 2 pages or have hundreds of them, but these pages are independent between them, and probably not sharing a lot of things. Maybe are sharing some logic between services or any helper, but are not sharing a lot. On the other hand, we have the meshed websites, like the mesh topology from IT, that are websites that are sharing a lot of things constantly. Okay, there are a lot of components shared between the pages, the services, the logic, all this is sharing constantly. Probably the big percentage of websites are both types. We have websites that have to be wide and have to have some parts that are more like a meshed, okay? But we have to differentiate how this works. Probably, this is one of the reasons we have this huge amount of tools. Maybe this is only the 20% of the tools that we have. I don't know. There are a lot nowadays. And probably we don't have to know everything, how perfectly work, but we have to be comfortable understanding what they do and how to use them. And also, never forget the good practices. Okay? The tools are important, but are more important the good practices that we have. Some of these tools are like Vue. I really like Vue because it's progressive. For me, it's the most important thing from Vue, because where I work, sometimes we have a small piece of code that has to be in a place, or we can create big single-page applications. There are a lot of types. And Vue let me to be progressive and help me being constantly scaling what I'm doing. Vue is nice and has one of the most nice management for the events and these things. For example, I remember from Angular or React the name of the different events that we have in the Vue, and in Vue are really, really nice, like mounted, destroyed, etc. Another tool that I like to use is Vuex. Vuex, it's really nice. If you come from Redux, I use Redux a lot of times. For me, this is more comfortable. It's nice. It's like, okay, are doing more or less the same, but Vuex seems that a new level after Redux. And also, it's an important thing that when you start to use Vuex or Redux, you try to use it everywhere, no? And it's the first mistake that we do. The idea here is to use only where this is necessary. And also, I really like this diagram because it shows you how really easy is Vuex. Another thing is TypeScript. I really love TypeScript because it was the tool that I needed when I was doing JavaScript, and TypeScript saved me because it introduced to me a lot of concepts that we have in other languages, are not invented by TypeScript, but like generics, interfaces. Decorators are also in ECMAScript, but we use it a lot in TypeScript. And there are not things that, okay, these things are cool, use it, but nobody is using. I use everyday generics. I cannot live without interfaces, okay? These kind of things. And types are now really, really a big thing. And one of the most important things for me from TypeScript is that it has valid JavaScript. I don't know if probably most of you know Sass, Less, and these technologies. One of the things that Sass, for me, Sass, it's better than Less, is all the CSS, it's valid in Sass. In TypeScript, happens the same. All the JavaScript, it's valid in TypeScript. For example, in CoffeeScript, it's not like that. And implements ECMAScript. That means that they respect ECMAScript. They add more things. They have their own point of view in all of that, but they try to respect ECMAScript, and they will respect in the future. Another tool that I really like is Inversify. Inversify is probably not super famous tool, but it's really, really powerful because it helps us to decrease the coupling of our code. We will see in the next slides how to manage this coupling of the code, but the idea is that you have to know that Inversify, injecting services and other stuff will help us to decrease this coupling that we have in our code. And finally, if we want to go to the next level, we have Nuxt. That for me is what, I'm sure that I have to create a big project, I have to start with Nuxt because it gives me a lot of tools that I really need when I have to create big projects, and I cannot be like 1 week creating these parts. Server-side rendering is amazing, how they think the middleware's working really well, the plugin system, the modules, it's really, really nice. Probably the first version had different problems, but now it's super, super nice. And probably I think we have a talk of the Nuxt brothers, where they are going to present more things and use Nuxt because it's very, very nice. Okay, all these tools are super nice, are super interesting. I love it. But as I told you, the tools are nothing if you don't have techniques, you don't use the good practices, you don't use patterns. And that's a little part that I want to introduce you also in the talk, because are really important for us. For example, I sometimes see that because part of my job is go to look into the code of other companies or other coworkers, and I see a typical schema for a component where we have, that's huge, but I try to to show. We have a component where we have 3 types of logics. I try to classify in 3 types: the view logic, the data logic, and component logic. That's not a bad component. Probably it's good, and usually in the components that you want to reuse, it's like what you want to do. But I think we can do it better. And how? For example, if you have logic in the view, remove it. Never have logic in the view. Why? Because it's not easy to debug, it's not easy to read, it's not easy to maintain. Okay? It's difficult to have logic inside the view. If you have logic for the component, you have to use it in the code behind, in the component part of the component, no? And you have all this stuff there. And also, if you have data logic, that it's really similar with business logic, but usually in my kind of projects, the business logic is in the server, and we manage the data logic. You have this kind of data, probably has not to be in the component, because it's data that usually it's going to be necessary for different components, different parts of your website, and probably you can move to a service, or if you are using Vuex, you can move to an action, or a helper, or whatever you want. That will help you having easier unit tests in theory, and having better or more understandable end-to-end test in theory. I think always testing is not the easiest part of development, but let's see small pieces of code that how we manage with that. I have here on my right an example that there is an author box that's a component made with Vue. I hope you can read well. And what I'm going to do is to try to separate the responsibilities of the different parts. For example, here I have a logic, a small logic and super simple logic, but I have logic in the view. What I can change is, instead of that, I can use isUser premium and go to methods. That's a normal component made with Vue and TypeScript. There are no more than that. And I can create a new method that is called isUser premium and returns a Boolean. And I have only to return this author role. I move only one line. Sorry, I like the semicolons. I move only one line. But now it's easier to debug, to understand this part, instead to go here and have my logic, you know? Also, there are some component logic. Now all this, for me, is component logic. This part of generate badges could be a mix between component or data. We can discuss, but not the moment. But I'm sure that we have all this logic that it's only generating the badges. It's related with data, because I'm probably going to use somewhere. Sorry, I copied too much. Here. OK, and where I can move it? I can move it to a lot of places. For example, I can create a service. I have this prepared here that it's called badges service. And I can paste everything here. I want to indent well. And OK, Quique, that's a class. In TypeScript, everything is public by default, but I'm the kind of people that likes to specify it. Don't ask why, but I like it. OK, we have that. I remove the commas, obviously, and here I have only to import the all missing imports. It's not super clean. That now it's better. OK, what I have to do now is only to use this. In this case, I have to export. We will see how to export better the classes, but for now, for this example, we can do a simple, really simple singleton, like badges service equals new badges service. And if this works, no demo effect, please. Thank you. OK, and now we have everything in the places that are easier to understand and easier to maintain, OK? OK, more things. Another thing that I really like to implement, OK, are the decorators. I'm really fan of decorators. I think are not the best thing that we have in software, but I really like it. In one side, you have a component made with Vue, and in the other side, you have exactly the same component made with decorators, Vue with decorators. Which are the difference? We have some of them. The first one is that if you are an expert in Vue, you are going to be probably super faster creating a normal Vue components without decorators, OK? It's a thing that it's not a theory. We have people in our team it's super good Vue developer, and they prefer that way. This is faster. But what we have on the other side, it's very interesting, but what we have in the other side is a code that the first is you don't know Vue, probably you are going to understand better the code because it's more readable. It's also, or at least seems more maintainable, okay? And it's easier to extend to. But it's slower to make this code. You have to choose sometimes, okay? In my case, we have normally full stack developers. Not everyone is super comfortable with Vue. Not everyone is expert. What we try to do always is to have maintainable things and to be easier to explain what is happening everywhere. Okay, that's why we prefer decorators than normal Vue component. But as you can remember, the last example was a Vue component with TypeScript without decorators. It's perfectly done. Okay, and the other thing I told you about Inversify. Inversify helped us a lot in the inversion of control that is related with the solid principle. You know the solid principles? Raise your hand. Solid principles. Nice. With the last of them, dependency inversion, and it's related with the pattern dependency injection. After all of that, here is where Inversify is going to help us. How? What we are trying to do here is to have decrease the coupling of our code, okay? Also, it's going to help us with do better tests because it will be easier to create our mocks. Nowadays, we have a lot of tools to automatically create a lot of mocks, and probably this now is not the best thing why you have to use Inversify, but it's going to decrease your coupling. That's very important for us. It's going to be more easier to maintain, and will help in the reusability of the services or the helper that you are using. Let's see a small example, continue with the author box that you can remember, where we can use Inversify and decorators. First of all, remember that we have this view component with TypeScript without decorators. I'm not going to refactor to convert with decorators, but as example, I have this other one. It's the badge. The badge that I have in the author box is a simple component made with decorators, okay? We have the props and etc. And also, if there are something that is not in the decorators, you can pass here as any component you have. Okay, what we can do with budget services is you see budget services is using emoji service. Emoji service is another service that is necessary in this service. But when I want to test, for example, budget service, I don't want to know anything about emoji service. For that, what I can do is to inject emoji service inside budget service. How can I do that? For example, here, if you use Inversify, you can mark the class as injectable in this case, and also I have to export the class, and now I can remove that. Now everything is going to stop working because now I'm not importing that, but the idea here is that now this class it's a candidate to be injectable. There is a container there where I register my dependencies. It's not really important now, but now I can inject that. How I inject the dependencies? There are two ways to do that. The first way, or at least two ways, the first is you passing like in the constructor. If you use Angular, it's like the way they do. It's more like Angular, C#, like this kind of languages or frameworks do like that. And the other way is using properties injection. In Vue projects, I chose that because I don't like to use the constructor in Vue components, and I want to inject dependencies the same way in the in the component than in the service. In this case, we're going to inject using properties. How I do that? I have a wrapper to Inversify, sorry. That's not that, it's that. That I have to write the name of the property and has to implement the interface. That interface is the same interface that this class is implementing. It's only the public properties and methods that the class have. Okay, now this service has emoji service injected inside. That means if I want to test or I want to use budget service without taking care of emoji service, or emoji service is broken, I can just mock it or whatever I want to use, a proxy or something, to do and use it. And here, I have only to use this emoji service, and now it's working. That was automatically injected here, and I can inject these things everywhere. For example, I don't need for my example, but I can do these two in the component. Here, oops. Here, I can do inject emojis service. It's type emoji service. It's going to, I have to import inject. Nope. Tip. Import inject. Sometimes VS Code don't have demo. Sorry, no, here. From core, I think it is sorry, thank you. From core. Okay, and now this is going to work. I'm not using the service inside that, but I can go to the created and blah, 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 you know. No? Okay, that's how we inject things inside services and components. And there is also another thing that I always like to talk about is that please use patterns. Patterns are an interesting thing that has a lot of years. A lot of people think about how to program in the most rightly way. And they are important. There is a lot of people, when I interview people that know a lot of framework, like 5, 6, 700. I'm expert in Angular, Vue, React, other things. But they don't know what is a strategy pattern. They don't know about module reveal pattern that we will use it before classes like years. No? They don't know what is an observable. They don't know what is a bus pattern. And all these things are important in nowadays. Probably a lot of these patterns are used in a normal day for us, but we don't have the knowledge to identify. I have us to recommend to you some book. I really like the JavaScript patterns from Adi Osmani, the Google developer that created or helped in the team of the developer tools. But the idea here is use patterns. And to use patterns, I'm going to show you only a simple pattern that's called the strategy pattern. I don't know why. I really like it. But strategy pattern, what says to us is that for different scenarios, you can choose different strategies. And it's very interesting because in Surf, for example, if there are small waves, you can use a big board. If there are big waves, you usually use a small board. That's the easier part. Instead of a strategy, maybe here with a dictionary or something like that, it's enough. But what is interesting? If I'm a pro surfer, I have another condition, and there are a small waves, maybe I can use a small board because I'm pro. I'm not, but in the example, I'm pro, I can use it. If there are very big waves, I'm a newbie in surf, I can go home. I don't choose any board. I do a totally different strategy. Okay, strategies has not to be the same between them. Could be totally different things. Let's see a simple example again, continue with that. In budget service, if I'm not wrong, yes, we have a switch. Probably I like strategy because it's easier to know where you can apply a strategy. If you see a switch, you can apply a strategy, always. Maybe it's not necessary, but physically you can apply it. Here we have a huge switch. This switch helps me to know which year is, depending the different years. Chinese years are for the different years that we have. There are an algorithm for do that. Here, in this case, I have the badge of the rooster. Okay? And what I'm going to do is to totally remove this logic. And instead to have this huge switch, I'm going to implement the strategies. I don't want to be implementing the strategies now. I prepared for you. The idea of the strategies is that all of them implement an interface. It's the IER strategy. And all of them have two methods. The first method is the check, and the other one is the execute. There are no a way that everybody is doing the same, the name of these methods, but usually these are the most common that I saw. The check method, what it's going to do is to check if I'm the correct strategy for this scenario. And execute is going to execute the strategy. That's super easy. I usually do a list of strategies, for example, like that. Probably this is not the best place to do this list. I can do in the constructor or something, but you will understand easy. And I have to import the different strategies, sorry. I have 3, the dog, the rooster, and I think the monkey. Okay, I have a list of strategies, and now I have to choose the correct. The interesting thing here is that I don't have to think which is the correct, because it's going to be automatic. Const strategy equals strategies.find check. And check expects a year, if I'm not wrong, a year. Now I have the correct strategy. I don't know what it's doing, but it's the correct strategy. Maybe I don't have any strategy after do that. If no strategy, you usually can return a default or something, but in this case, stop here. And now the emoji. Which emoji I can choose? I only have to do a strategy execute. And I will have the correct emoji. For example, I can go here and change it. I think if I change that, it's going to change, okay? I changed the scenario, the check of these functions, and now the correct strategy is another one. Another interesting thing here is that the first strategy is super simple execute function, but the others are calling to a super complex, okay? All the strategies could be super, super different. Okay. Doing all of that, the last 1.5 years or 2 years using Vue and this kind of technologies, we learn a lot of things because we failed a lot. Sometimes people don't want to say, but yes, we fail a lot of time. I fail every week. Last week I was with React and Redux, and I failed like hundreds of times. The first thing that we learn is we have to make small components. That's really, really important. In Vue, it's easier because you have the .vue file. I was not super fan at the beginning, but finally I accepted, and yes, it's a good movement. Sometimes, not a lot, but sometimes split components are okay. You have to have the structure to split the components between, instead of one file, to have it in some files, but usually have to be in only one file. Use linting always. I never cared if you use semicolon, don't use semicolon, double quotes, single quotes. Please use single quotes, but I don't I do whatever you want. The important thing here is please don't do both, okay? Have linting, talk with your team, and use any linting you prefer. Use convention for names, that's very important. For me, the best, it's the convention that Angular in Angular Heroes has for the name of files. Do test. I'm the first that sometimes forgot to do test, but in your future will prefer that have test instead of don't have. One of the most important things in a team is ask for feedback, but more important than ask for feedback, please accept the feedback, okay? I don't want feedback to say, oh, Quique, you are amazing. Wow, what you do with injecting. No. I want feedback to say, you are crazy. This is not for us, okay? Don't do that. This is the kind of feedback that you need to ask for. And be continuously improving your code. We do a lot of projects in a year. We do for different companies, and we are always changing what we think in each project that we do. We are not doing always the same. And for the new people in the community, I hope some of you are new here in JavaScript world, your ideas are also good, okay? If you go to a meeting and you have a crazy idea, maybe it's better than the other ideas, and you have to say it. And the most important thing for me is be ready to change everything. When I fail, sometimes the only solution is to remove everything and start again. This sometimes it's not good for the company, but I do in my weekend, or I don't know, but you have to be ready. When you create, I love katas, for example. I don't know if you go to a kata in your life, but I love katas because the idea is to, when you finish the kata, you have to, it's an exercise to practice. When you finish, you remove everything. And my first kata was, yes, I remove it. It's in OneDrive. But no, you have to remove the things. Sometimes you learn some things doing that. It's not necessary to have the code in a folder for the rest of your life. And we're finishing. I think you want to go to eat something. For me, it could be super easy to come here and say, okay, we do all of that, do it, but we try to give something for you. It's not amazing things, but we have a website called boilerplates.js.org that is go to our GitHub repository. And here I want to show to you two boilerplates, one with Vue and another with Nuxt. Both are with TypeScript and Sass. And here we use like a good practices that we think we change every month how we think that these good practices, and we evolve, but there are good practices that we think are useful for our projects and maybe are useful also for you. For me, the best is to use CLIs and go to these boilerplates and take some pieces. We don't like to do it like plugins because in our company, we want to the people learn how this inject is working. We don't know, like we have a black box with the plugin and it's working because it's more internal thing. And finally, I don't know if you were reading all the titles, but there are a little thing. If you concat all the titles, like in all JavaScript, you have a recap of all the talk. The important thing is that our projects need to scale. We have more kind of websites. We have tools. Some are versatile, some are easy, some have superpowers. Some seem magic, and some of them gives you to the next level. And please never forget good practices, and never forget to learn and teach people patterns. That was everything on my side. Thank you. It was a pleasure. And we can talk in Twitter. Thank you.